Nation.
Touchdown, Cougars take the lead.
Every Monday at 6 on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back in, Cougar Nation. Load up those phone lines, 801-575-8255. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte, every single week here on Cougar Nation, 6 to 7, recapping the week that was in BYU football. Hopefully we have some more BYU football weeks to discuss. Hopefully there's another a bowl game coming up for BYU in their future. They do have a game this Saturday, 1:30 kick against Oklahoma State. We'll get the extended pregame coverage started at 10 a.m. from Stillwater as the Cougars take on the Pokes for the first time since 1976.
Wow.
In the Tangerine Bowl.
Wow.
These two teams have never played in the regular season, so it's been a minute between BYU and Oklahoma State, and now we dive into what's trending up and trending down in BYU football.
Cougar Nation, trending. What's trending up and what's trending down this football season.
I'll start things off. Mitch, trending up for me. There's a lot of different ways that you could go with this because I thought there were some positive trends, but I'm going to go with Cody Epps. I think that Cody Epps has been trending up the past couple weeks. I thought that he made some plays. He looked the closest to the Cody Epps that we saw last year. And I think one of the takeaways from that game offensively for me on the positive side was when you have a nice, shifty slot receiver like they had Epps a little bit in that game, it changes the offense a little bit. I liked what I saw from Cody Epps. That drop at the beginning of the game was not great because that would have kept the drive going. But he had some plays in there that reminded me of what Cody Epps could be. He's still a guy where this year has not went his way. It started with the poor decision to go into the portal at the witching hour, and then he had an injury, and it just has not gone his way. I'd still like to see him come back and see if you can recapture what he did a year ago, because when he's at his best, he's a really good slot receiver that can make plays, and I thought we saw the best glimpse of what he was last year in this game.
He's been banged up so much. I mean, the hamstring, and even in the Oklahoma game, he went down on the sideline. Trainers were looking at him like, you almost hold your breath every time when Cody Epps, goes down on the turf because it feels like he's had so many injuries in his BYU career. I am interested to see what he does next year because this is his fourth season in the program. I don't know how close he is to getting his undergrad, but you wonder, does he kick the tires again and go all in on the transfer portal, or does he run it back? That's just the nature of college football. We truly, if you try to forecast who's coming back, who's not, at this juncture, you can get a sense of some guys, but other players like him who could have a market, and we know how to market, it'll be interesting to see what he does this offseason. My trending up is Aaron Roderick. I got to give him some credit. I think that he did a nice job with the play calling in that game. I know that RPO call on first and goal from the 2 is controversial. And
you can't put that on him. Now that we have more information on
I'm putting that on Retzlaff. Yeah. I am. I feel like Aaron Roderick called a pretty nice game, and I feel like it reminded me of BYU offenses of the past, with Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall. Like, oh, yeah, BYU can score. BYU has the ability to keep defenses on their heels. That was the first game this season, this whole season, that I felt like I was watching a good brand of football on the offensive side from BYU. They've won 5 games this year, and in none of those games did I feel like the offense was spectacular.
No.
I don't think this game was spectacular offensively for BYU, clearly. But I enjoyed kind of the pace, the feel, the rhythm of the offense where there was hope. There was no hope. I mean, last week we were asked on the show, what gives you hope, Cougar Nation? Aaron Roderick gave me some hope after what I saw on Saturday.
Trending down for me, and it's been trending down for a good long time, basically since the Arkansas game, is the defensive line. It's just there's not enough healthy bodies. And who would have thought a guy like John Nelson, and this is no disrespect to John Nelson because I think he's a nice player. You want to hold on to John Nelson because I think there's something there. But he goes down, and this unit is incapable of creating pressure. It's just unbelievable how much they've slid since the Arkansas game because it felt like down in Fayetteville, you and I were there, a lot of BYU fans were there too. It felt like, hey, here we go. This is what we're talking about here. We're getting some sacks, some strip sacks. We're bringing pressure. Oklahoma, they could not make that freshman quarterback uncomfortable to save his life. And that was frustrating because that's the type of situation where if you had a halfway decent defensive line, do you create a turnover that changes the game and maybe wins you the game? At no point did you feel like this defensive line was going to do anything to make him uncomfortable.
My trending down, BYU's confidence to win games. They forgot, Matt. I don't think they remember the feeling of winning games. You had to go back to the Texas Tech game.
And that wasn't a good feeling.
It wasn't. It was a struggle in that second half. This team has forgot. That was clearly on display with those mistakes in the red zone, the fumble, just not being able to get a stop on third down. They have forgotten how to win games. And it's going to take a massive effort for BYU to get it done this Saturday against Oklahoma State. We got to get out to the phone line, 801-575-8255. Every single week here on Cougar Nation, we're taking your phone calls. Michael from Arizona, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I've noticed that whenever BYU's played afternoon games versus evening games traditionally, and it's not always the case, but traditionally they've been able to come away with the win. And I'm just wondering if there was any sort of discussed notion that to do more afternoon games versus evening games, because they seem, at least when I still attended the games in the evening, they always seem to be able to come away with the win in the evening versus the afternoon. I don't know if it's just all the crazy traveling and time difference, but it's just my observation.
Two letters, Michael, dictate how that works, and those letters are T, and the other letter is V. They dictate how the games go. I mean, this Oklahoma State game had a 6-day window where a week ago at this time we didn't even know when the game was going to be. So that got set very late Saturday night as a primetime game. TV's gotten in the way. And the nighttime, daytime thing, to me, we can put that to bed. That was a nice little story the first half of the year, but they stunk at West Virginia.
Stunk against Iowa State.
Yeah, so that's over with. The night game is, and look, the best game they probably played all year. This last game was a morning game they haven't done in nearly 20 years.
Did you like that? The 10 a.m. kick?
I absolutely loved the 10 a.m. kick.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I'm showing up to the stadium at around 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I kind of like this. This is got some Costa Vida breakfast burrito here. Like I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying myself here.
I would love it if, and they have no control over this. They have very little control over the schedule, but I would love it if they would throw in every single year a 10 a.m. game, a home
especially
game.
In November.
Especially in late October, early November. The weather was not bad at all. Besides the wind and the rain in the first quarter, that was not fun for those being there. Credit to you for withstanding that. But I quite enjoyed it, and this BYU team played well. One thing that I think we should bring up as well, Mitch, is there was this notion like, oh, we're asking them to wake up early. Can they do it? Can they get out of the routine? They were already getting up early anyways. A lot of them were lifting early. You have early meetings. You get to the training center to rehab. So I think that was a little overblown. Like, oh, they play late all the time. Can they wake up? Like, I think it was fine, and I enjoyed it.
I did too. I thought it was a lot of fun having a morning game for once. Cougar Nation brought to you by Blue Barn Wealth, fee-only fiduciaries who help you live within your meaning. BlueBarnWealth.com. Taking more of your calls next. 801-575-8255. Will this BYU football season be a disappointment if they don't make it to a bowl? We'll talk about that next and preview Oklahoma State right here on Cougar Nation.